Hello and welcome to another episode of Wednesdays with We. I'm excited today to have our advisory board member join us again, Carla Caldwell. Hi, Carla.
Hello, Jackie. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. I'm happy to have you here. And we have Kate Cartwright from Allied as well. Hi, Kate. How are you?
Hi, Jackie. I'm good, thank you. And thank you for inviting me here today.
Oh my gosh. Well, Kate, I know your schedule is so busy and you're like literally, getting us in between appointments. So we appreciate that you're here today, really, truly. So thank you. But why don't I just have you introduce yourself first? What is your position? How long have you been at Allied?
Yeah. Okay. So my role at Allied is I'm the VP of People for the Americas. So my role really is to support the people agenda from a strategic perspective across North America, Canada, Mexico, and Chile. And I have a team of 15 people that sit predominantly in the Fort Worth area. My HR team who support me in that regard, but you might be able to tell from my accent, I'm not a local. I am very new to not just to the area of Fort Worth, but also to America. I've recently relocated from actually working in the UK, so London predominantly. So I'm now into, I think it's my 5th month of being here. So yes.
Wow. Welcome. And you know what? I love listening to the accent. So thank you. We could just listen to you talk. So today, I wanted to talk to you, and it's really a great opportunity to have you on call because part of what we're doing in Women in Electronics is we are trying to get that word out about diversity and inclusion in our industry. That's a very mature industry. We're a little, I think, slow in getting that process going. And now a lot of people are interested, want to know more about it, understand that profits are actually at the bottom line of all this too. It's not just a feel-good thing. It's also your profits are directly impacted by having a diverse team. So, but I think a lot of companies just don't know where to start. They don't even know what to do and how this works. So from a global perspective, looking at diversity and inclusion, interesting to have you on the call to ask you, what are a couple of 2 or 3 of the best practices you've seen? Like what are some of the things you look at are being key elements for a company to consider?
Sure. Well, I think there's a couple of things there really as far as from a global perspective. I think it's thinking about how you attract diverse talent and how you retain them and really get the most value out of the diversity that you're striving for. And, diversity can take so many different forms. It can be diversity of gender, of, as you mentioned, ethnic origin, but it can also mean diversity in terms of personality and characteristics. And, we know that the best teams have got the most difference within them, that they're the teams that produce the best sustainable results. So this is a kind of mission critical consideration, and certainly it's certainly I've noticed in the kind of HR realm, I think it's become much less of a nice to have consideration as opposed to a significant lever, which organizations, and the best organizations, the most successful ones, are really exploiting that lens, I think, around talent generally. So irrespective of what that diversity is. And I think being really open-minded about that is important. So we talk probably less about diversity, actually, certainly from a electrocomponents, so an Allied perspective. We talk more about inclusion. That's about creating the right environments within which people can really thrive and shine, irrespective of that difference.
Wow.
So in response to your questions, a couple of things I think is, it's how do you go to market as an organization in a way that you project that ethos and you project that way of you project that culture into the market, so that's something that you get known for. And then equally on the other side, it's how do you hold on to those individuals? So it's looking across all of the employee experience to think about, to what extent are we really considering inclusion in, how we reward people, how we promote, how we develop, and how we engage our people. So it's a thread that runs through everything, really.
Wow, that is really good input. And Carla, you manage teams. So what's your perspective on what Kate just said? Like, what are some of the best practices that you employ as far as motivating your teams or having diverse team members? How is it that you actually implement what some of these policies are that try to be created on the organizational side?
Sure. Sometimes I try to look out, and first of all, I think it's really important that we understand and respect the personalities of those individuals that make up this team. I don't expect anyone to be just like me. I don't want them to be. Our customers aren't the same. Our suppliers aren't the same. Our teammates aren't the same. So I really like for everyone to be true to who they are. I like authenticity there. But then I also want them, I like to encourage our team to respect the differences that the others may have. So, as an example, and I discussed this briefly, I'll put teams together within the building, to set a process that will work for everyone within the organization. Down the line, it may impact, sales in this way, but ultimately some of the processes we put into place, those impact other departments and then ultimately the customer. So sometimes when we're making these wish lists and we're working with our partners to build in process, I try to encourage them to really think at a higher level and think about what this looks like down the line. So I may put people who are quite different from each other together to do a project, to put together a training for the team, because they've got little nuggets themselves to share. And then you bring them together and they come together with something really strong, and you have to know how they're fed as well. I think it's really important, going back to those different personalities. I have to understand that maybe this person over here who may be a little bit introverted, they get rewarded a little bit differently. And I have to make sure that those needs are being met and that they're being fed. I just was sharing this with you. I've got a couple on a project right now that they think differently, but together they're working on a project that hopefully will roll up, and they'll be responsible for helping to train the rest of the team and roll that out. And it's really been a good experience for both of them so far. Again, just a different mindset, but coming together to put this project together to roll out. Yeah.
Well, okay. I think it requires the management, the entire organization having the policies in place, and then the management team being able to implement it. But Kate, I was going to ask you, so you've probably heard and learned a lot about, just like what we learn about here at Women Electronics, about unconscious bias and catching ourselves and all that, critical information. But what's your advice for what you were describing, Carla, too, is like you put these people together who think different. They're going to get frustrated, right? It's going to be sometimes not such a happy situation. So, Kate, what is it listeners can do? So that's the big fear. You put people together who don't think alike. They have conflict. And we always want to have somebody on our team that's like us because we also want to move forward and make quick decisions, right? So what is your advice on that, Kate?
So I think any kind of constructive conflict, there needs to be some kind of bedrock to that. So I think if you need individuals to warm up to each other. And I think this goes for teams and leaders too, as they work together. It's kind of what's the scaffolding that's holding that relationship up, and making sure that there is trust and confidence actually that it exists on both sides, so that, you know, there's a tolerance for healthy conflict, as opposed to you know, it becoming actually more unproductive than anything else. So I think I come back to creating those conditions really around how do you cushion that fall. So how do you make sure that there is you know, there's some self-awareness on both sides, that, you know, individuals have spent some time holding the mirror up and understanding, you know, what their natural kind of inclinations might be, their value set, their own biases that will come into play, of course, when we're getting people to work together, and building that, you know, opening up that conversation in a way that they're walking into it knowingly, and are able to then operate very much in that kind of adult to adult space in how they're working together. So, you know, that does absolutely require a manager to as Carla's just described there, it's having that foresight, it's recognizing that there's going to be bumps in the road, and making sure that there is a structure, a scaffolding around them to make sure that doesn't become a negative experience, really. And it is productive, and it delivers those more superior results, which is what you would anticipate, certainly, from that diversity of thought.
Wow, that's an excellent point, because I think you're alluding to emotional intelligence, right?
Absolutely. It's kind of, it's peeling back the onion, isn't it? It's understanding what is that makeup, which is going to, and that's emotional intelligence, but it's building out your understanding of you first, to then kind of enter into that working relationship in the best possible frame of mind, I think.
Yeah, so we do a lot of training on professional and personal development. And I think the traditional leadership style was just professional, and you would completely separate it. And in today's world, you'll probably find, I can maybe turn it to you to comment on this, but it's really interesting to me that what used to be seen as, you know, soft skills like collaboration, empathy, these types of things used to be seen as not as valued in leadership. But in today's world, moving forward, in order to be a solid leader and strong leader, you have to be emotionally aware. You have to have your unconscious biases in check. You have to be emotionally intelligent in order to lead, and have vulnerability and empathy and cooperation and trust, all those things that we used to tend to undervalue, should I say. So anyway, I'll just let you comment on that real quick before we wrap it up.
No, absolutely. I think that, you know, the best leaders are the most authentic ones. I think that's you know, a given. And, you know, the more that we focus on the whole person, and I think, you know, without straying into a different topic, I think that also from an inclusivity perspective, and the COVID-19 experience, I think, has shone such a strong light on this. There are no hard lines between work life, professional life, work you, home you. You know, it all bleeds in together, and you know, employers, the best employers, are embracing that. I mean, I had a conversation with one of our auditors in London earlier, and he had his daughter sitting on his knee throughout the video call. And, you know, it was fine, you know, it needs must, and we got done what we needed to do. I totally respected his situation, and we made it work. And I think this is kind of setting the trend now for, you know, the way that we will be working going forwards. It's interesting times, let's say.
Well, in a way, it's very refreshing that it's an equalizer. So everybody's in the same boat, men, women, you know, we all have to help with kids and this and that. So in a way, it's an equalizer, but I'll leave it. Carla, any final thoughts before we conclude?
Sure. You know, there was something that we were talking about, and I do want to reiterate, you know, I do think that EQ is so important personally and professionally. And I think that when you model those behaviors, I think that your employees really look at you for those types of, for learning those types of characteristics in their own personality, and that allows them to grow. But I think, you know, Kate said something about, you know, she mentioned COVID-19. I think one of the key factors that I know myself, I used to not pay quite as much attention to is adaptability.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen that some are adapting a little bit better than others. And that's difficult to do in times, especially the way things are today. These are unprecedented times. And I just think that, okay, you're able to go in and see the playing field and see the way things are. And then you just have to adjust. You can't change the situation outside of here, but you have to adjust yourself. And I think if you can really make yourself aware of what it is that what can you control. And you can't control this pandemic that's happening, but you can control what's happening in Jackie's world, in Kate's world, in Carla. You can control those types of things. And you know, just trying to be a good steward and make the best of it. It's not a great situation, but if you can just adapt and try to just roll with it and try to be successful regardless of the situation, then I think you'll just come out better, stronger on the other end. You know, crisis is a time that shows what's within you. So be strong and be, you know, try your best to be adaptable. If you're struggling, go to someone. And this is what I tell my team: get it out, vent it out, but don't get stuck there. Let's move.
That's a really good point. Yeah.
Don't get stuck there. Let's just keep moving. You know, we're all going through this. It stinks, but let's move. Let's just keep moving. So I think that's really a characteristic that I'm definitely going to be looking at more closely when choosing candidates in the future, and something that myself I'm going to be very aware of that myself in the future.
Right. Well, I think that this really is a good point. I'd like to wrap it up, but just to say, we keep mentioning COVID and it's a critical issue right now at hand, but it's always going to be something, right? This is now a process that we're going to be in for a long time. Beyond this, there's going to be change after change after change. So I think that the things we're talking about are critical issues to business moving forward, attracting talent moving forward, how adaptable can you be, how agile can you be, how emotionally intelligent can you be. These are all critically important topics. So I appreciate you being here today. Kate, very nice to virtually meet you. Look forward to maybe having you on our Leader in Highlight someday. So
thank you, Jackie. Thank you. I've really enjoyed it. Nice to talk to you both.
Thank you both.
You too, and Carla. Yes, thank you both. Have a blessed day. Thank you.